What is up, guys? I thought it'd be cool to. This is kind of like a new style for me to go over and talk through my workouts with you guys. And we're doing a pull day, which is kind of like my last day of the week. I'm just starting off with pull ups where I actually do a full pull up into a dead hang. For a majority of the time, I'm not really like trying to rush reps through these pull ups. I'm really long, so I try to extend all the way down, relax my spine. It also helps me decompress my spine. And I really just don't rush through those reps. I love doing pull ups as my first exercise because it is such a fatiguing exercise. And then the next one we're doing is a John Meadows row, which I absolutely love, or Meadows row is what he would call them. R.I.P. John Meadows, one of like the first fitness dudes that I followed and bought tons of his programs, and I still utilize a lot of his programs to these day. High volume, low volume. His programs are absolutely amazing, and I know my physique drastically changed once I started applying his exercise ideology throughout my own. And a lot of this stuff just, it does make a lot of sense when you are going through programs like that designed by somebody else. And this one here is a belt squat machine, but I always use this thing for rows. You could put a closed grip handle on it and do a closed grip row with it. You could do a single handle on there and utilize a single handle if you wanted to. This one, I actually did a wider grip, like almost mimicking a barbell row. I wanted to use a Smith machine, but somebody was on the Smith machine. This one isn't like super great. I would prefer to do a Smith machine. That's my preferred method. But since everything was kind of taken, I was like, let me just do it on here and just get a full stretch out of my back, since a majority of my working weight or my working exercise was the Meadows row. Now I'm just trying to stretch out my back and get a little bit more volume, but with a different grip width on there. Here I'm going to do a single arm cable row, but it's kind of like a lower row. Since I am 6 feet tall, I have a 6 foot wingspan. If I just sit normally on the bench like everybody else, if I did it in a traditional style and I go to lengthen my back out and do a full eccentric stretch on it, then I really don't get a lot out of it because it just stops and my arm's kind of just like halfway done. So with this one, I sit down and it allows me to sit all the way back, and the bench provides a stability point for to put on my solar plex for my chest as well. So that's another added bonus to doing this seated. You could also do this on one knee. I warmed up. I shouldn't say I warmed up. I my first set I did it on one knee. And then you could see I use the pad there to sit down or to put my knee on. Sometimes I'll do it with one knee. It just kind of depends on how I'm feeling, how my back is feeling, and the groove that I'm going with. I sat down because I did want more stretch within the movement. And then for biceps, I'm just doing a basic barbell curl. I only go to Hellhound on Saturdays, and I really wish that they had a seated curl machine. A seated curl machine just absolutely annihilates my biceps. It's my favorite machine to use. The Preacher curl machine's a hit and miss. I did it right after this workout, and then I did two shoulder workouts before this. I probably do 1 to 2 shoulder workouts every time I go into the gym, just to do just to add some volume in there, because my shoulders are a very dominant part of my body. So I don't really dedicate a whole day to them. Like even during my push days, I'm still doing just 2 shoulder workouts. For the greatest point is posing. Posing is one of those things where I do need to continuously practice. I notice so for context, I'm in full off season right now. This is my last day of my bulking cycle. So today I woke up at 216, the higher end of 216. And I would say this is the best I've ever looked at this weight. My previous bulking cycle, I went up to 220. No, actually, it was 225 I went up to. And it was a little bit, I still kind of looked the same. There wasn't that big of a 10-pound difference from 216 to 225. There was a little bit more fat accumulation. 225, I was a little bit stronger because when I was 225, I actually did a 495 squat for 1 rep. And I know my strength isn't 100% there like it was months ago when I was at the peak of my bulk. But this is the last day of my bulk. So sad. And then we had already cut food. Yesterday was my first food cut. It wasn't by a lot. So what we're doing now is going into a deload for about 3 weeks. I'm going to go get biochemical markers drawn, labs, and we are going to make sure everything's running efficiently and then get the ball rolling and start prep for this year. I know this year is maybe going to be my last year competing, just with being 33, with kids, with running my business, especially with school, finishing my dietitian's program. It's starting to, I don't want to say it's getting a lot, but it's starting to get busier, I should say. So it's just one of those things where I'm going to take it, I'm going to be super easy with everything. But it's one of those things where I got to take it, I have to be mindful of my time that I'm giving to my family, for the kids, and still trying to achieve my dietitian's degree. And what's funny is I'm probably not even going to become a dietitian. And it's funny when you look at how much dietitians make, like the top end, if you're like at the top end, you could make $90,000, but that's like in California where they're paid a lot more, but the cost of living is still a lot more. And then I look in Texas, and then in Texas, your top end is around 70 to 75,000. And then it's funny because just me owning my business right now, I make 3 figures. So it's not really one of those things. It's weird that I'm just pursuing this, I would say, just for the sake of knowledge. I like to think of nutrition because I used to compete in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and there's a saying where it's like, if you're like, when you're a black belt, everybody thinks you know a lot, but the higher you get to becoming a black belt, like the less you know. And it's kind of like that for nutrition. I know that's a terrible analogy, but it's kind of like that for nutrition, where the more you're learning, you feel like the less you know, because the landscape becomes broader and broader and broader. Where when you just get into nutrition, you're just learning about fats, carbs, and protein. And then it becomes about stomach acid. And then it becomes about small intestine absorption, and then it becomes about probiotics, prebiotics, and it feels like it's never ending, and all of the multiple cycles and relation that your body has with one another, to where you start off in nutrition and then you're ending up in, like, this affects brain function and stuff like that. So it's the more you get into it, the more knowledge you're consuming, because it is such a wide landscape. Anyways, sorry for that rant, but I'm going to sign off. Next week, I'll be uploading a push day video. And until then, see you in the next one.